There was not a lot of subtlety in that film.
It felt like the entire story arc was her trying to watch the last episode of Friends. That's what the whole thing felt like.
And I found that uncomfortable in the book and I couldn't watch it.
Hello my friends, my name is Hannah and welcome to a brand new video and something a little bit different for this channel. So I teased this in a recent video, but I love reading, that is not a surprise, but I also really enjoy films. I also really enjoy a book to film adaptation, and I thought it might be fun to do a new series on this channel where I do that, where I read a book and then I watch a film or TV adaptation of it and kind of discuss some of the differences, because I am not always the book was better person. I like both. So the very first one we're going to be doing, I don't know why I'm like hyping it up like it's going to be a surprise, because you'll have seen the thumbnail, but it is Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. This book has been on my TBR for ages, and in 2 days, the film adaptation is going to come out on Netflix. So I have a couple of days to read this book, and then on Saturday morning, it's currently Wednesday afternoon, on Saturday morning, my best friend Farmer, who has just read this, is going to come over and we're going to watch it and then maybe have a chit chat together about what we thought. So this is just a very quick introduction to say hi and hello, because I am, if you've been on my channel before, once again going away for work, which means that I will have a 3-hour train journey later. So I just wanted to say hi, because I'm probably, hopefully, going to read a chunk of this on the train, and I'm very excited. And let's see what happens. You're probably going to get a little bit of reading vlog from me as I read this, but not tons. And then I think maybe Farmer and I will have a chat about our hopes, expectations ahead of watching the film, and then a little bit at the end. But who the hell knows? I'm notorious for not doing what I say I'm gonna do. So come along for the ride, won't you? See you soon. Hi. Good morning. It is Saturday morning. Farmer is going to be here in 10 to 15 minutes to watch the film of Leave the World Behind. And I did finish the book in time. I actually finished it yesterday, but I didn't have a chance to catch up with you. I think this is one of my favorite books of the year. I'm not going to talk too much about why I liked it here, because I think Farms and I will do it later. But I thought I would give you a quick little, not a plot summary, but just like a brief overview of the book, so that when Farmer gets here, we can just go straight into what we liked, what our expectations are for the TV show, all that good stuff. So this book starts with a family, like quite a young family. They're like, parents are in their 40s. They've got two, kind of like a teenage and a preteen kid. They're driving out to the Hamptons for a week's holiday, and they're very excited about this. You get the implication that they're not, while they're definitely not struggling by any means, and they have a very nice, comfortable life, this kind of luxury is probably not something that they do all the time, right? So they're going out to this house in the Hamptons. Mum's a bit of a workaholic. She's kind of like checking in on her emails and stuff. And they get there and they're staying in this beautiful house, and they absolutely love it. It's really quiet. There's no one around. And they have a nice couple of days there. And you're just kind of following them. But then they get a knock on the door quite late at night. And the wife especially is very concerned. And And when they go to the door, there's a couple there, a black couple who are in their like 60s. And they start talking to them like, oh, we're so sorry to bother you. There was like, we were at the ballet, but there was like a power outage in New York, so we thought we would drive here because we thought it would be a difficult, like, it would just be stressful to have to try and get back home through New York with no power. And they're like, what's going on? Who are you? And they're like, oh, sorry, this is our house. Like, I'm George, I'm GH, the person that you were liaising with when you booked this house. And then the wife, like, just super mistrustful, just is like, who, what, and essentially they're like, can we stay here tonight? There's like a granny annex in the basement. Like, can we stay down there? Because we can't get back to the city, or we don't think we should go back to the city. There's something weird going on. And then the weird things continue to go on. I don't want to talk too much about it, but essentially, like, there's no network. They can't find out what's happened to the power. And then a few things happen, and it's very, very odd, but it's really a character study. And what I liked about it, even though I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but what I did really like about it is, you know, like disaster films, books, series, always kind of feel, I'm always watching them being like, oh, I would not have a fucking clue. And I know they say human instinct kicks in, your survival drive will get you through. But genuinely, what I liked about this was that something weird and unexpected happens, and they don't know what to do, and they don't know how to react. And that was quite refreshing and quite lovely. But I thought it was beautifully written. I thought the characters were all really real, really fleshed out. And I thought the pacing was great. And I love it when you find a book that you really, really like and the author already has a couple of other books. So I'm definitely going to check out more of Rumaan Alam's work, because I thought this was fab. So that's me for now. The next bit you see will be me and Farms just having a brief chat about how we felt about the book, but also what we expect from the film. So jump to that while I make a coffee.
We're just gonna go for it.
We're just gonna go for it.
Okay.
Hi, Farms.
Hi, babe.
Hi. How did you find the book?
I really enjoyed the book. Like, considering I actually hadn't heard of it before you said, let's read this, I was like, okay, this is going to be mediocre, but I really, really enjoyed it.
I think it was one of my favourite books, you know, of the year.
Oh, honestly, I would put it on a list.
Yeah.
More than one list.
Well, so that kind of means, how high are your expectations for the film going in?
Well, I said, because I read the book slightly before you, because I had it on audiobook, which was also very good as well.
Interesting.
That I thought it would make a really good stage play.
Yeah.
A single room stage play. It would just be the perfect format for this. So get Adam on that.
I will. I'll have a word.
So film wise, I don't know. It depends. Who directed it?
I actually don't know.
I do know a lot about directors, so I don't even know where I asked, to be honest.
I don't think it's a director that I'd be like, oh yeah, I know who you are.
Because like if they try and it's really, really simple story, isn't it? So I think if they try and do too much with it, if they try and expand on the story in any way, they could ruin it.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think?
I think, have you seen the trailer for the film?
I know nothing.
So I don't always think trailers are necessarily the best, like, indication of what the actual film's going to be like, right? But it felt very, very, like, tense, dark, like, it had whodunit-y vibes and, like, very, like, thrillery vibes.
Okay.
Which is not 100% the vibes of the book.
What genre would you say this book is?
I guess it kind of is like a literary thriller. It's like pre-dystopian, right? It's like, it's not dystopia yet, but it's
There's a
It's the
dystopia.
prologue.
The dystopia is over there, and we are over here.
I think that's it. But what I really, really liked about this, I can't remember if I said this because I did a little bit before you arrived, just kind of like recapping the book so that we didn't have to do that. But I think a lot of the times when you're watching like a disaster movie or like anything where like an event happens that is out of the ordinary, people always seem to act like they know how to behave in that situation. And I don't believe human beings do know how to behave in that situation, or not most human beings, but always the people in films kind of seem, there's always someone who's like, yeah, I'm totally prepared for this and I'm gonna like rise to the fall. Whereas these, they didn't know. They just had no idea what to do. And they were like, we don't have the internet. What can we do? And I really liked that. You said something to me about, we won't spoiler here, but about the ending and whether you thought the ending was going to stay the same or not. What do repeat for the good people?
So when I finished reading it before you had, we were getting very close to the end of this audiobook. I think there was about 45 minutes left, and I texted you saying, I've got no idea how they're going to wrap this up in 45 minutes. So I feel like the book just ended. It's like I could have turned the page and there could have been another chapter. But there wasn't. There was just the like acknowledgements. That's the kind of vibe that was there. And I think that if they were, because I didn't know whether this was going to be a series or a film, I just knew it was going to be telemedia. So I didn't know. I thought if it was going to be a series and then they were going to explore them living through this apocalypse, that would be a great way to end the series. But if it's a film, they're going to have to wrap it up somehow. So do they just blow everybody up, do you think? Is there any other way?
I don't know.
I hope they don't make them all like rabid and turn on each other and that would be a poor ending. That would be a cop-out ending.
It would be a cop-out ending.
Quite Ethan Hawke-y though. He does like to do that.
I do like Ethan Hawke. Maybe he directed it. I don't know. One thing that's already different that I noticed just purely in the casting. Now I don't know exactly how old these actors are, but the renting couple, the white couple, are played by Ethan Hawke and Julia Roberts, and the other couple, I can't think off the top of my head who the actress is, but it's Mahershala Ali. Now the age dynamics are different in the book. The black couple, the couple who owns the house, are supposed to be like 20 years older than the other couple. And I think they have not done that, obviously, with the casting, which is an interesting choice.
Because I think the power dynamic, what with having these people turn up at their door,
but
then being that little bit older, and the kind of the
bit
vibe,
less threatening.
the vibe that the book gave me was more like that they were like headmastery kind of vibes. And so it was that, well, I have this innate urge to trust you, but this is in a weird situation.
But I do think it will be interesting because them being closer together in age, that competitiveness of like, well, how come you've got this house in the Hamptons that we can only afford to stay in for a week, and we're like similar ages? I think they're going to maybe push that a little bit more. But maybe we'll leave it there for now.
Well, I just wanted to say that my favourite part of this book was how they talk about what's going on in New York.
Yes.
So the way I was just trying to find a little bit to try and read it out. So
but they're like, so every so often there'll be like a line in the book that's like, they didn't know that the guy who ran the dry cleaning was actually trapped in a lift and was slowly suffocating or like whatever. And you just get these lines over it. So you get a sense of what's going on, but the characters have no idea. And I think that, in a way, I think that might lend itself really well to a visual medium, because you might just be able to like get visual flashes of it. But I also don't know if they'll do that.
Like when they introduced those in the book, it felt to me a little bit like you didn't know whether that was true or not.
Oh, really?
I felt...
I'm so basic. I was like, he said it's happened, so it must be true.
Because it was like it was something like they were like, oh, I'm really sad. And they're like, yes. And everyone in New York was very, very sad because they were all dying. Like, essentially, is how the formula of those all work. So I felt like the first time they did it, and I would love to find it, the first time they did it, it was a bit more ambiguous, and then further along in the book you got the
More and
less
more explicit.
ambiguous, these kind of like dual timelines became. But I liked that they were just throwaway lines. That was my favourite part of it. I thought it was so clever. Like, I haven't quite read anything with that much of a blasé horror element to it, really. It was just like, oh, they were going about their normal life, and then everybody was dying and everything was going
And
down.
knowing that we were focusing on people who essentially were incredibly privileged in the situation, in that, like, literally privileged, but also like they're having a horrible time because they're like, oh my god, we don't know what's going on, and it's like, oh, shit's going on that you don't have any idea about, and you're lucky that the worst thing that's happening to you is that, you know, your son's a bit poorly.
And will they introduce new characters in the last 10 minutes, like this book does?
Yes, that's true.
Because that's not very filmy.
It's not
very
very
filmy.
No, it was
I would
interesting though. Oh, okay, right. We are going to crack on and watch it because Farmer has to go to the gym really rudely. So we don't have tons of time. We're going to watch the film and then we will be back soon. Bye!
Hi. So all of the promotion for Leave the World Behind has said 24th of December it's coming on 24th of November it's coming on the 24th of November. We've just sat down and it says it's coming on the 8th of December. So we're not watching film. We're not watching the film, and
Not today.
not today. So you'll see this video when we do manage to watch it.
Well, should we do some magic editing to make the time go quicker?
About to jump forward into the future, like 2 weeks.
Wow.
What did you make of that then?
Well, the good news is, everybody, is that we have watched the film. I think the good news might end there. What are we feeling, Farm?
Hi, this is Editing Hannah. If it hasn't been clear that this is where we're gearing up to, spoilers for here on in. Spoilers.
Well,
Well,
I think I mentioned, or although it was just a second ago, it's kind of hard to remember, that I really liked the way that the book was so subtle, and the way that they introduced the potential threat as being super subtle, and maybe it was happening, maybe it wasn't happening. That's what I really liked about the book. I really liked that.
There was not a lot of subtlety in that film.
In fact, it starts with a boat crashing into a big boat, oil tanker crashing into a beach, which is one of
Straight up doesn't happen.
which is such a good metaphor for this whole film. It's like being hit in the head by an oil barge.
It is. I was just saying, like, I'm on board with a more literal kind of dystopian about, you know, it kind of reminded me of, like, if you took the vibe of The Big Short about, like, money and markets and power and, like, how power is isolated, and then you kind of put that into, like, a dystopia kind of setting. I think that's a really interesting thing to explore. It's just not this book.
No. What do you think about the changes they made to the family dynamics?
So I feel a bit better about it. So what I hadn't realised at first was that she was the daughter. I thought she was just a much younger
I
wife.
am so glad that they defined
that
they've made an older retired couple's relationship into a younger father and probably late
20s,
early 20s daughter.
Well, she was, I think, it said when she was at college, so I think she must have been like early 20s.
I don't know how America works, to be honest.
Do they graduate at 22, 4-year degrees? I don't know. If you're from America, tell us. Yeah, I did like. I think it brought definitely a different dynamic. I think it made them a little more suspicious, so that maybe Ethan Hawke and Julia Roberts felt a little bit more justified maybe at the start in terms of like, well, especially when he said, "Oh, we bought this house 20 years ago," and I'm like, Mahershala Ali, you are not even 50 yet.
Oh, I thought that as well. I thought that as
You
well.
bought this fancy house when you were 30. I am 33.
It's a little bit like the whole Bridget Jones situation. It's like, no, you didn't afford that on the secretary's wage in London.
No, darling.
Like, that's nicer than any flat I've ever been in London.
I know. I still love that flat.
It's a good flat.
But yeah, I did think it was interesting. I think with the daughter was able to be a bit more jibey
Right.
than like when it was like an older couple who were trying to be quite polite and kind of were trying to get people on side a bit more. I can see why in a film adaptation they might have wanted to have a character that was going to be like meet Julia Roberts' character a bit more head on.
Like very antagonistic.
Yeah, because she was definitely more antagonistic. So I do think it was interesting. It did feel a bit more like they were just doing it. A little part of me thinks it was cynical so that we could have like a hot young girl in it. Because in the book they have a daughter that the couple who own the house are worried about the whole time because they can't contact her. So they've just flipped it round so the wife isn't there and they're worried about the wife and the daughter is there. But yeah, I think I didn't mind that so much. For me it just really lacked some subtlety and some ambiguity. And I do recognise that when you're in a visual medium, subtlety and ambiguity is harder to do, and possibly the audiences are less tolerant of it than readers might be. But there were so many things that they just like added in, including like you just said, there's a thing with the youngest daughter, who has quite an important role to play in the book and the film, but they kind of played it differently in the film. Is like weirdly obsessed with Friends and is trying to watch the last episode of Friends, but all the internet's gone out and everything, and she hasn't seen it before. And the ending just, it comes back around to that again, and it just felt a bit like, oh.
It felt like the entire story arc was her trying to watch the last episode of Friends. That's what the whole thing felt like. And I felt like I could have saved myself 2 hours of my life.
Yeah.
It was an odd thing to make a really central thing. And they made her very odd as well. But didn't do anything with it. Like, you can't just make someone a weird little hereditary style child without taking that anywhere.
I think, because in the book, she reminded me more of like she was definitely a bit quirky, but more like a kid that would have been in the Scouts.
Like a free spirit, sort of.
Yeah, like she was just kind of like I'm gonna go my own way, whereas this was more like, felt like she was a kid that really had like some issues and some damage, which is like fine to explore, but it did mean that I think her going away at the end landed very differently for me in the film than in the book.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of the choice to change the beginning of the film?
I thought it added nothing. I was really...
I think you could have cut the first 10 minutes of this film. In fact, if you decide to watch it and you take our recommendation, just skip the first 10 minutes, and I feel like it would be better.
Yeah, so basically, the book opens with they're driving in the car on the way to the house.
And they're pretty happy.
And they're quite happy. It's been a planned holiday. And you know, there's a sense that they've been looking forward to it, perhaps that this break is really needed. And the film opens with Julia Roberts waking Ethan Hawke up, being like, I've just booked us this house in Long Island and we're packing and going now, like a really spur of the moment thing.
Which I would really hate if anyone.
I would respond very badly to a last minute change of plans. But yeah, it didn't, I think they were trying to establish her as like more of a misanthrope. That felt like something they were really pushing with her character, that she really hated people. I didn't get the impression in the book that she hated people. I thought she was just a bit self-involved and kind of a bit...
And also, what does that add to the story? Her hating people. What does that add?
I don't know.
Because if you're saying that she didn't like the couple coming to the house because she was low-key a bit racist, which is what it is in the book, although never expressly mentioned.
Yeah.
They do mention that. Well, they do insinuate that in the film, but maybe they needed, with this, all the subtlety of an oil barge pulling up on a beach, something to really make sure you knew she didn't like people, which is why the first scene ends with her saying, "I fucking hate people."
Yeah.
Maybe they just wanted to get, like, just in case you wanted any subtlety, they just really wanted to, like, you know, get that out of there. No subtlety for you.
It was
friend.
really interesting. So I should have suspected that it might play more of a thing, because this was directed by the creator of Mr. Robot. Now, I really liked Mr. Robot.
Has that got Will Smith in it?
No, Mr. Robot is that's iRobot. Mr. Robot is a TV series
okay,
with Rami Malek and Christian Slater. It's very good. It's very good. But it's all about like hacking. So I was like, oh, well, what a surprise that we're really playing up the idea that this could all be
That's
to
a
do
really
with
good
hacking.
point, isn't it? Because you've got a book where it's like, we don't really know what's happening. We don't really know if anything's happening. These are
Yeah.
quite mysterious circumstances, and someone's gone, it's a hacker. Gotta be a hacker.
Because I think what was weird is that they amped up some of the natural disaster stuff that I thought didn't make as much sense.
Didn't. Like
With
rain.
If you're very specifically saying this is a hacking thing, which it felt like they were,
Why did it rain?
then and why were there flamingos and deer doing weird shit? Like, yes, I think migratory patterns probably would be if there was like a big crises happening, but some of the natural world behaviors, where in the book it's kind of like, oh, is the world doing this? Is it a combination of factors? Is anything happening? Or like, what's going on? This kind of felt a little bit like it was trying to have its cake and eat it too.
Yeah, like when I lived in The Hague, we used to get a lot of sonic booms. And like I was just thinking about this film. Throughout this film, I was like, I don't really know why that was. I'm sure I knew at some point in time, but it used to happen quite frequently. And I didn't have flamingos or deer in my backyard. So I mean, I'm no
In my head, your childhood, there was a lot of flamingos in your backyard. In my head.
Well, we did have monitor lizards and tortoises and monkeys, but they're not in The Hague.
No.
There has never been a flamingo nor a deer in my back garden, to my knowledge. Yet. Never know what's going to happen in Benton.
But yeah, it was really weird. We said at the start, right at the start, even before the scene with Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke where she decides she's taking them on holiday, there were lots of like establishing shots, like eerie shots of like New York and stuff, and it was very much a like, the vibe right from the start is something's going to happen. And the book, even though, you know something probably is going to happen, it's definitely not as upfront about it. And I don't know if it just put me off from the start. I found myself like...
You did pause it about a minute in to express that.
I did. I am really annoying to watch films with, to be fair. But I think because of that, it felt for me quite quickly like they were going to divert quite strongly away from the book in terms of vibe. And for me, the vibes are like, I'll let you change any kind of plot or character stuff, but like if I connect to the vibes, I don't want the vibes to change. And they changed the vibes. And from then on, it was going to be an uphill battle for the film to get me back on side, because I'm like, the vibes are off.
And then this film has truly awful
cinematography.
Okay, Fan was really sick.
I have very bad motion sickness and I get migraines, so I can't deal with this woo.
There was a lot
situation.
of like, I don't know any of the technical language, but a lot of like,
a 360 flip.
like spiraling up cameras, lots of things flipping round,
And I
like
get-
lots of
Yeah.
circles. But
It was to like make you feel like things were a bit weird, but it just made me feel slightly queasy for like the majority of the film, and then I couldn't watch some of it because it made me feel ill.
yeah. What did we feel about the characters? Like, we've talked a little bit about Julia Roberts as being... We said at the start we couldn't work out if it was the writing or the actor decision to make Julia Roberts such a... That character was more of a bitch, I thought, like more of an outright bitch in the film.
So when they get in the house in the book, they have these quotes about how much they want this to be their house, how envious they are of the people that have it, and how happy they are to be there. And in the film, there was a little montage where Julia Roberts cuddled the lists of do's and don'ts of the house and then lay on the bed, and she was happy. So it was insinuating the same kind of thoughts. So it would kind of lead in that she wants to be one of these people who is better than they are, in every kind of a way. And so to also be horrible, I don't know, it just didn't really fit. And plus, I thought the Ethan Hawke character was very similar to the book.
Very similar.
Wants to try.
Doesn't really do much.
Just not very good at it.
Good.
And I liked that. And I just thought someone like that just probably couldn't put up with someone like that as a life partner.
Am I misremembering? You will remember better than me. I thought they did have sex early on when they got there. Did they not?
Oh, I don't remember.
Because they kind of made a point in the film of him kind of hitting on her a little bit and her completely shutting him down.
Yes, do you remember the start of the book is weirdly quite sexual?
Yeah, but I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
And so that you did get a vibe,
right.
There was more of a vibe at the start that actually the holiday was going quite well and that things were good. So you had more of
Things
a kind
went
of
well before they went bad.
Yeah, like a loosening of tension, and then you screwed the tension back up. Whereas the tension started really quite high from the starting point, and then so it felt like, for me, there was less like light and shade.
Yes, because when they had sex in the film, oh, can you imagine someone inviting you to bed by saying, well, the kids are going to demand to be at the beach in 15 minutes? And you saying, yes, brilliant, that's all I need. Like, shoot me in the face if I ever say that's happened to me. Just a stern talking to and a cup of tea. Just let me know that I've turned into Julia Roberts.
Okay, I will do.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think if there was... Why did I write 14 minutes? What happened 14 minutes?
We paused it at 14 minutes because that's when
the boat happened. Okay. So just to illustrate how much earlier in the timeline weird shit starts happening. This is a 2 hour and 20 minute film, and at 14 minutes, that's when the oil tanker smashed into the beach.
That's when shit starts going down on
14 minutes
on
in.
a big barge tanker scale.
Yeah, it was odd. It was very odd. I enjoyed Kevin Bacon's little appearance at the end. They did pop him in early. Farmer did ask whether a character was going to appear in the last 10 minutes who hadn't been in it, but they popped him in an establishing scene early on and then brought him back at the end. So not quite.
Yeah, weirdly like slightly racist as well.
Yeah.
Weird.
Just very, they quite like, felt a little bit more like they were playing, and there's an element of this definitely in the characters in the book of like a spectrum of wanting to collaborate and like work together right the way through to locking down, shutting doors, trusting nobody, and there are the different characters kind of, as normal people do, sit somewhere on that spectrum, but he felt really quite
extreme
over this way, but maybe it was like that in the book. Maybe it's just more confronting when you see it, because I think that was one of the scenes that was more similar.
Do you think it's because in the book it's like this subtle upward trend of introducing you to the chaos. Whereas in the film, we start with a scene where things aren't quite right. Then we go into a normal house scene where Julia Roberts has been weirdly impulsive, and then a barge crashes into a beach. Yeah. So we're up here the entire 2 hours, and it's just like you can't keep that intensity.
You can't, and I found myself getting bored.
Me too.
Because it's like actually it felt like it didn't have anywhere to go,
and it didn't go anywhere. But the thing is the book doesn't, but you don't mind because it's about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah, whereas this was implying it was gonna all be about the destination, and the destination was like...
You don't find out where the destination is, because even though they've told you all along, there's no scope for like, do you think they're going to make a sequel? Do you think that's what this bullshit was all about?
I wondered, you know, if they're treating it like a prequel, and then... It felt like they cared more about letting the audience know what was actually going on than about what the characters were experiencing. Now, I don't know if that is because that was anticipating what the audience would want more of, or would tolerate, like the ratio of that, but it definitely didn't feel true to the book.
Do you know though, I think it's always good to start strong, and we have
Start strong in the sense that we have a book we really liked, and then a film that we could talk a lot about.
Absolutely detested. And that's good. Like whenever you did your French oral GCSE exams, like they wanted you to disagree. They didn't want to say that you had a lovely holiday to Spain. They wanted you to say something interesting, and this is us hating a film.
Yeah.
How many vlogs have you done about hating a film so far?
Hating a film, hardly.
Hardly. So any. This is niche. This is new territory, huh?
And I do think I genuinely do think I'd be really interested in other people's opinions on this, because maybe it's because I liked the book so much, but I did preface this whole thing when I filmed the introduction to this video. I was like, I am not like the kind of person who's just always going to be the book was better kind of person. I do think I'm very good at like understanding the mediums work in different ways, and then you can have a really successful adaptation that diverts quite a lot from the book, and that's fine. I'm not on board with it, but I do wonder if we started with a book that I had liked a little bit less, whether I might feel less strongly about the film. But I also just don't think it was very good.
Out of the book, out of 5, what are you giving it?
The book, 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5, me too. Out of 5, what would you give the film?
Do you know, it's hard. I don't know if I would it's hard. On a cold watch, if you didn't know about the book, I think it would probably be a bit higher. But I'm going for 2.
I thought 1.5 was in my head.
I'm going 2.5.
Whoa, half marks, really? That's a 2-2, man.
Yeah, but I don't think it was completely badly made. I just think it was not.
Oh no, it had budget.
Yeah, it had budget. Had good actors.
Great casting.
Really good, although weirdly it felt like, particularly the early bits felt a little bit under-rehearsed, I thought. It felt like they had to settle into those characters quite a lot. I think the whole thing got better when Mahershala Ali was in it.
Yeah.
Because I just think like I think that's maybe where Julia Roberts was being so like and like aggy, because Ethan Hawke quite rightly was being like a bit like chill and a bit passive, because that's the character. So then she's having to do all of and she needed someone who was gonna against her, and so
yeah, okay, we'll give casting, that can be the one point that they did go off me.
I do think, other than the swirly weird cinematography, I didn't like hate the way it like looked. The soundtrack was odd.
The soundtrack was a choice.
But then Mr. Robot was a little bit like that. A little bit like a bold music choices. Yeah. Could you give your professional opinion on the teeth, please? Farmer as a dentist.
Radiation poisoning does cause tooth loss, because the ligaments that hold you. I haven't looked this up, so I could be talking out of my arse, but because I've never come across radiation poisoning in person,
Right.
but I do believe that the muscles that hold teeth in degrade really quickly with radiation poisoning.
Okay.
So I believe that they snap.
Because one of the characters loses their teeth, and I found that uncomfortable in the book, and I couldn't watch it
Well, you know,
in the thing. But I couldn't do it.
like everyone has dreams about their teeth falling out, and so like it's almost like we all know that feeling of going, bleh.
Yeah.
And but he pulled his out, even when he spit them out, he pulled them
He
out.
did. He just kind of.
But also that's not actually what teeth look like when you take them out. So
No.
don't worry too much about that.
No, what do they look like?
Well, then his were very spindly roots. Like if I'd taken an X-ray of his teeth, if he'd come in and I'd seen weird black roots, which doesn't have like that teeth has to necrose quite a while. These spindly black roots, and I'd be like, "There's something very wrong with you,
Right.
genetically."
Oh, okay.
I'm going to send you to the hospital for professional opinion because it might have other systemic effects.
Interesting.
But I don't think that's a plot point. I think that's just lack of attention to detail.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
Well, if you have read this book, if you have watched this film, I would be very interested in your opinions. I think the next one we're going to do is
All the Light We Cannot See.
All the Light We Cannot See.
Finished it.
Have you finished
I
that?
finished it.
That's not going to be coming anytime soon because I haven't even started.
When does it come out though? Like,
It's out already.
is it? Is it a
Yeah,
film or a TV series?
It's a film. It's on Netflix now.
Oh,
It's already out.
That's
And Ad wants to
exciting.
watch it, and I've been like, you can't watch it yet because I need to read the book. Yes, we've got that, and then I think we're going to do Poor Things too because the film of that is coming out in January. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this slightly different style, let me know. And thank you very much for. Well, I was going to say bearing with. You haven't really had to do much bearing with. We've had to do a lot of bearing with. And you're welcome. And Lewin says bye. He's here, but I don't even know if you can see him. He's just blends into the sofa so well. There's a little tail there. Okay. Bye, friends.
Bye, friends.